Greetings, Poe fans. Welcome to another edition of Poe Unplugged. I am Carmen Bolden.
And I am Jeanie Smith, and we are
The Potastic Two.
Come zoom with us into the Unbook Club dedicated to the works of Mr. Edgar Allan Poe.
Good evening, everyone. And I don't know why I'm sounding like Dracula, but okay. We are back at Poe Unplugged, and tonight we are going to be discussing that wonderful short story. Is the sarcasm coming out? I love it. The Assignation of Edgar Allan Poe. It sounded like I said the assassination of Edgar Allan Poe. No, it's the Assignation by Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, and
So, go ahead.
I think that you're channeling in some Bela Lugosi because we have watched so much of him. So just had to add that in.
Yeah, I was wondering because I was like, why am I suddenly going with Bulgarian or, Russian or I don't even know what it was. But anyway,
Yeah.
and I think what it is because the story takes place in Italy. So I had my European coming out there for some reason. Dude from Plan 9 from Outer Space. I don't know if I've seen that one. Huh.
I have, but it's been a long time ago.
Doesn't ring. I might have to look that up. All right, so who wants to kick it off? Unless you really want me to start, which you don't. I'm just saying.
Really? You don't like this one? Stop it.
It's not that I don't like it, but it's like I told Carmen. I was like, but halfway through it, I was going, would you shut up and just get on with it? Okay.
Yeah, let's not let Jeannie start.
Yeah.
I nominate Holly. She seems to be enthusiastic.
Yes. Let's
Okay,
go for Holly.
So really quick, guys. Are we like spoiler alert? We can talk about what happens in the end. Is that good to good to go?
I think prefacing that up front, it's
Okay.
totally fine. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Spoiler alert. I'm going to tell you the ending. No.
There you go.
Okay. So me personally, you guys know I love twisted, weird romance, right? So right off the bat, this is exactly my kind of read. I love that whole secret meeting, weird thing, like fated destiny, dying together. I mean, Romeo, it's like Romeo and Juliet. Like it's almost like Edgar Allan Poe's Romeo and Juliet story. I really liked it. I guess the one thing I had an issue with, not even that is an issue that just kept me thinking, was in the very beginning, the woman of the love interest of not our narrator. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to pronounce anybody's names, but like the woman drops her baby, right, into the water. Yeah. So my question is, she already knew that they already had this plot that they were going to do this like packed suicide, right? Essentially. So did she deliberately drop her baby, or was it a true accident? And whose baby is it? Is my question. Who's, like, I kept thinking, was it like, okay, like we can't be together, but obviously it's assumed that they had some sort of a romantic relationship, and at least I assume that they were intimate, because in the private room of her lover, like there was a painting of her. So I mean, you just don't get paintings like that. Usually people sit for those kind of portraits. So it assumed that she had been in his rooms, and if you're in a gentleman's rooms, especially back in the day, you were probably intimate. So my question was, whose baby is it? And what has happened that they feel at this point in their lives, because obviously they were meeting, that they had to do the suicide pact? Did the husband find out? What kind of was like that driving force? So for me, I like the whole like fated lovers thing, but it did leave a lot of like questions, like why was this like their decision in the end?
Yeah.
But it was a short story, right? So I mean, it was what it was, and of course, it's Edgar Allan Poe, so he probably wants us to kind of come up with that little storyline ourselves. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Jeannie. Sometimes it was a little long-winded because the point was really about the lovers, right? But he was like going on about the rooms, and but I think there's a deliberateness. I'm talking now, I'm rambling. I think there's a deliberateness with this because he said he's not really into designing anymore because without his love, there's no point. There's no point in those simple little pleasures because all he cares about is her. And then, of course, it had the poem in it that we read last week, which like went perfectly with the whole theme of everything. Because without her, there was no point in living. But yeah, overall, I loved it. I love dark romance, and it totally had that dark romance vibe for me. So I give it a day. That was very long. You see, yeah. Sorry, guys.
That's okay. No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, this story is much more atmospheric and descriptive instead of a strong plot, although the plot does come through. But I think that the baby did not belong to the husband. That's why he was so uncaring as he strummed his guitar and didn't seem to mind that the baby was going to drown. But I also think that somehow the baby was returned to him. He took the baby away from her because she had been disgraced. You know, she was in dishabille or slightly undraped, standing out in public, and so she was now disgraced. And perhaps the husband turned her out, and that uh, contributed to the suicide at the end.
Yeah. Jeff, I felt the same way. I felt like that the lover, let's see, yeah, he did not have a name, just the young man. I
Yeah.
felt like he was the baby's father, and that's one of the reasons he was there and jumped in to save the baby.
Hmm.
That would
Totally.
make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I read that the character of the young man is patterned after Lord Byron,
Mhm.
That makes a lot of
with whom
sense.
Poe was fascinated.
Yes. Yes.
The whole
And
Byronic
Will,
hero idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, which Poe was a Byronic hero, and he wrote
Yeah.
quite a few of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Hmm.
And it made sense since, Byron, it was said that he had many of the children running around anyway. So, and like Will said, and this is something I was about to bring up, but I agree wholeheartedly with you, Will, because it was like the husband standing there strumming his guitar or whatever it might have been was like, Nero strumming and watching Rome burn. So it was kind of the same things. And that's the one thing that I did love about the story was Poe's allusions to many different things, especially when it come to mythology and just like to Lord Byron and Nero, and then you had Aphrodite, and then of course the Ballast of Pallas, the the bust of Pallas is what I was trying to say. It's mentioned in there, and then the Bridge of Sighs, which that immediately made me start thinking about a Nora Roberts book where she actually talks about the Bay of Sighs in it. So it kind of had a tie-in with that. But I do agree that it was a lot like the Romeo and Juliet, and that's probably why it got a little much for me. Romeo and Juliet has never, ever been one of my Shakespearean plays. I just, it was like, it's not that I don't enjoy the plot. I don't enjoy the story. It's just that it was just so, and I guess it didn't help that I was teaching these children at this time. That I
Romeo and
was
Juliet is
teaching the
my
same
favorite
age group
Shakespeare
that it
play.
was happening in the play. So it was like, so watching and knowing those with star-crossed lovers, like, oh no, 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 no. That's just ick. But anyway,
Mhm.
but yeah, the one of the things that really got me is I was like, I'm so into it about, the scream, and he does all this build up, and then, all these people are scrambling to save this child, but the Superman, basically, the Batman, the superhero that comes out of nowhere, is coming from the prison. So then that starts me thinking, I'm like, okay, was he in prison? And she made this a moment to where she could get his attention when he got released by throwing his child out into the canal to make him go get it. And, kind of like she's like, I'm done. I want out of this marriage. Because if it is his child, why is she trying to kill it? Now, I could understand if she was trying to kill it if it was the husband's child so she could get out of the marriage completely.
Yeah.
But on the other side, I'm like, oh, is she trying to kill the child because it's the lovers and he's just gotten released from prison and she wants to get his attention? So, but yeah, I mean, I think a little bit, he got a little too much of description for me. It got a little too much of like, yeah, okay, I got enough. Okay.
But the
So,
imagery was fantastic.
Hmm.
It really
Mhm.
was.
So
hey,
I
yeah.
noticed I'm not as imaginative as the rest of you. I guess I was wondering if the whole thing was arranged. It was their child. It was the illicit product of this illicit affair, and they decided all three of them would die because they couldn't continue on.
True.
And so they ditch the kid and then they kill each themselves.
Hmm.
Is that too
Hmm.
simplistic?
No,
No.
I don't think
Sounds
so. Not at
interesting.
all.
Yeah, because I mean that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, did she intentionally toss this baby? But I think Jeannie has a really great thing that she pinpointed is like Edgar Allan Poe did not choose his words wisely. He kept making mention to the jail, right? To like
Mhm.
to ignite. I mean, he could have been looking at his fancy place where he lived or whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely something there, and that really makes me think because I hadn't thought about that. But I definitely think Jeannie's onto something with that. But
Well,
yeah,
and
I'm right with you, Steve. Yeah.
he made a point that the first time that he sees her standing there, that she's not even looking towards the canal. It's like she's a statue herself,
Hmm.
and she's her fixation with the entrance of that prison. And he's like, why would she just, it's there every day. It's the architecture. You see it every day. So why would she be so fixated on it? And it was like, it just reminds me of someone who was trying to get the attention of someone that needed, because it was like a cry out for help or notification. And then, and towards the end, it kind of gave me a little bit of foreshadowing of what to expect to the end.
Yeah.
So, because it was like she turned herself into a statue. So it's like, okay. She didn't care about her baby. She didn't care about herself.
Hmm.
These are pinpoints of like, it's not going to end well.
Yeah, that's true. One of the things that I kind of there's a couple things, but I'm going to hold one of them for a minute. It's an alternate ending of sorts, and an alternate theory, I guess. But the one
Mhm.
thing, when the narrator is reading to One in Paradise, embedded within, I was reading my note. He kind of talked about that an Englishman would have been the person to write it. And so he's thinking, okay, is this young man, did he live in London? The Marchesa lived in London at about the same time. So did they know each other before? And maybe that has a link to why he's in prison. I kind of wondered that. Like, did the Marquise, put this man in prison because they were having an affair? And so then tying that to my alternate theory, did they kill themselves or were they murdered?
Hmm.
No.
I went alternate.
Yeah, because Carmen, you could take that another step further because they kind of have that moment where they whisper like tonight, it's tonight. But what's
Right.
tonight? Maybe they were going to run off, with
Yeah.
each other
Because
because
yeah.
not necessarily kill themselves. Maybe that was their plan. Like maybe they ditched the baby, right? Extra luggage, whatever. That's horrible to say. Ditch the baby, and yeah, like I mean, they definitely had something planned. And yeah, Carmen, you're right. That was a part that stood out because he kept saying like, "Oh, this man wouldn't have like written this because he's Italian, and
Mhm.
he could have maybe written it, but it was probably unlikely." So yeah, what's the story? Who really penned that? Who penned those notes on the
Yeah.
pen? Yeah,
Yeah.
something definitely else.
Yeah, because I wrote down the quote that she tells him about meeting. Thou hast conquered. 1 hour after sunrise, we shall meet. So let it be. So was that, a hint of let's have the suicide pact, or was it let's meet so we can run off together and be rid of everyone here? I don't know. I guess I took it as a possibility that this could have been something that they were trying to do on the sly to get away from her husband.
Yeah, because realistically, that man was like filthy rich, right? I mean, not saying that rich people don't kill themselves, but he had the means to take her and get out of the country. It
Yeah,
wasn't like he was destitute and all we have left is to kill each other.
yeah,
Because like Romeo and Juliet, they thought each other was dead, otherwise they wouldn't have done that. It just
right.
so happened to be like, yeah, that's just the way it went down. Like, oops.
Mhm.
But yeah, so this was a little bit more orchestrated, wherever their plan was. But why, if they had this, seemed like they had the means to leave, especially if the husband could care. It was like kind of like dismiss his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
interesting.
and if you think about it, Poe always was, so reluctant to think anything about Shakespeare. He was not a fan by any means. So this could also be Shakespeare's snub, to Shakespeare, Poe's snub towards Shakespeare, going, "Hey, I could do it better." Uh, you know, this
True.
makes it so much better because the more I'm thinking about it, it's like, well, that's the thing. If they had a meetup that they were planning to run away, but she was leaving the baby behind and leaving everything, and he has money and everything, and what if it just turned out to where she had just gone off the deep end? She wasn't going to last, kind of thing. Because, if you think about true suicide, most people don't give you notification. It just happens.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
have a thought.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Maybe you might know this, Jeannie, because you're really into history, and I'm not so good with that. But maybe he was in the jail. Maybe he was like given leave or something, and maybe he was going to be executed or something like that, and that's why they killed themselves together. Something with that goes back to the jail thing. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he was allowed to take leave or whatever. Sometimes they'll do like I don't know. Sometimes they'll do at
Well,
least
they
in
do
modern
have
day for
some,
girls.
yeah, usually. Now, sometimes if it's according to what you were accused of, you would get a furlough, like, and let go early or, let out early and those kinds of things. But not knowing what he was in for, most of those days, especially in those types of prisons, I hate to say it, but, France and Italy did not have very nice prison systems. And usually, if they were in there, it had something to do with political or the really, 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 really bad ones like murder or something like that.
What if
So,
it's
Or
what if it's the
religious differences.
yes.
Yeah, you know what? What if
Yes.
it's the flip? Maybe the husband knows knows that she was cheating on him and that she was going to go to prison because wouldn't you normally be put to death or go to jail for cheating on your husband back in the day? So maybe
Oh, yeah.
she was looking at the prison because she thought that's where she was going to end up. Now that he caught on that this baby wasn't his, and I'm just pulling stuff out, guys. But yeah, maybe.
They're all plausible.
Yeah, I agree. It's like because he doesn't really tell you. Thanks, Mr.
Yeah.
Poe.
See, and that's a Poe for you. Because
Yeah,
that's
that's
his
Poe for
that's
you.
his that's his POMO. Instead of his
Yes.
MO, it's the POMO.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Other
you gotta leave it open
thoughts?
for everybody.
Other thoughts? What do y'all think?
I didn't like it.
Okay. So
Yeah, it was too Romeo and Juliet for me. And I read it twice and I'm like, oh, please, can we just get to the ending? I just, it, I think the part is when the description of that room he was in and everything was out of place and the smells he kept going on about. And I'm like, what has this got to do with anything?
yeah.
And then when he put the poison in the wine and drank it, and I was like, okay, good. We're done. Let's move on. Next chapter. I mean, I know that's cold. I know that a lot of people
No.
probably would think that's cold, but I was just like, I don't understand this one. Usually I like anything he writes. This one, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I had to
Mhm.
sit through this.
It's
I like the
Keith's
description
kryptonite.
of Venice because
Yeah,
I've
my
been
kryptonite
there.
is that story.
Yeah. Leila, what did you say?
I just like the descriptions of Venice because I've been there. And
Oh,
Venice
okay.
gondola. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do you feel like his descriptions were pretty accurate?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that I guess they have a long history of those gondolas, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I'm not sure exactly when the gondola ride started. Probably a long time ago.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
interesting to look up.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah.
Steve
Hold on.
said, I will donate $100 to the Poe Museum of your choice if Holly appears on Saturday's Poet Like Poe event with
Seriously,
bright lighting.
the gauntlet is down.
Oh, you're muted, Holly.
You're muted.
I will not only be in the light, but I will be in some sort of either I'm actually going to wear my Mad Hatter hat. So
Oh.
make sure you
Good.
guys
That's a
tune in.
cool one.
Since I'm reading
Just
Dream
like the
Within a
one you
Dream.
wore to, it's not the one you wore to Poe Fest with the
No, this
skulls.
No, not that one. This one is just like a green. It has like the little hat and like the number hat.
So the actual Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah. Since I'm reading Dream Within a Dream, I feel like
That's
a
perfect.
dream within a dream might mean you're insane. So I'm just kind of vibing that one for that.
That's perfect.
But it will be light. I'll either be in my kitchen or because I'm going on in the morning, so it'll be light in my bedroom if I do it in my bedroom.
Oh, there you go.
So,
Oh, and to answer the brief question about the gondola, it was first mentioned in a letter from a Venetian Republic official in 1094.
Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Wow. Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was going to say
You're welcome.
right after William the Conqueror, 1066, not too
Yeah.
Wow.
30-ish years. That's interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah, so,
Um,
I mean, but it's evolved as usual, as most of them
yeah.
do. But yeah, but it was first mentioned in 1094. So
Yeah. Keith, I will tell you this. So when Jeannie and I were talking on the phone, or no, it was when we first jumped on Zoom a few minutes early before anybody jumped on, she said almost verbatim what you just said. So
Oh,
I was like, can he please just get on with it already?
I
think
don't
I
I
think
don't know
that
what it was.
I think Poe had a there was method to his madness here with that because for me, the word setting just kept like a light flashing at me. This story has a lot to do with setting and how setting is almost like a character in this story. I
yeah.
mean, it resonates with the themes, the characters themselves, with everything, like all his description about the statues and then this man, the rescuer's house and all those things that Keith wanted him to get on with. And I did too, actually. It was a little bit too much at times. But there's so much there with the setting. I mean, we got beauty and love. Here's Venice too. Venice is noted for beauty. It's like a place of love, but it also is symbolic of decadence and ruin.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
so here's that's symbolic of everything in the story, as is, I think, the house of the rescuer. It has beauty, but it also has that decadence and that sense of decay and that inevitable death, because somebody has to die because it's a post story, for goodness sakes. So
I would agree with that. And it's almost like, and I will just say, we just finished Romeo and Juliet just a couple weeks ago in school with my freshmen, and we also do Annabelle Lee, and we compare who is the more star-crossed. And so when I think about fate, destiny, star-crossed love, and with the canal being where the baby just slips through, it is rescued, but it's beautiful. And then this house that's just in disarray and all these things out of place and all of that. It's like it's kind of a perfect opposite, the kind of the antithesis of each other, this beautiful setting with this god-awful house. And so it's like two stars converging where they're not supposed to. And so it kind of just, in a way, emulating that star-crossed love through words of the setting. And it's like the setting, kind of like, Cheryl, what you just said, kind of like Fall of the House of Usher. The house is a character, the setting is a character. Yeah.
I was just going to mention that. That's one of my favorite post stories, the Fall of the
yeah.
House. I mean, the house literally falls apart around them.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place, but it falls apart. It's that whole theme of beauty versus decadence, love versus inevitable death. All of that comes through in this story and in House of Usher and many other post stories and poems, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But to go back to what Holly was saying about the, where she was telling him, where to meet her, kind of giving that message and stuff. If you think about it, the star-crossed lovers, Romeo and Juliet, that suicide pact wasn't the end game.
Right.
There was just a miscommunication where someone didn't deliver the message. And then you have to think about, was that deliberate? because they were warring families. Was it a deliberate miscommunication? Was it missed message for a reason? And then this one, you can look at it from the opposite point of view where this message was given and there was so many people to hear it. So was that a message that was given to maybe push towards an end result? Like either suicide or murder or something like that. So you kind of got those flip-flops going on. And Will, were you asking about the poem, the one in paradise? Is that what you were asking about? Uh,
The one that
yeah,
appears to the assignation.
yeah, yeah. That's the one we talked about. Was it last month, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. That was the one focuses on, yeah. That was why we chose it because Steve, I think you were the one that chose it, right?
He did. Mhm.
Yeah. Steve chose it, and then, we knew Assignation was coming up because I think
It all just
Carmen, you
kind of fell
mentioned
into
it.
place
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some kind of mysterious way because I didn't even know you're doing the assignation.
Oh,
Mm.
I think Carmen just mentioned it to
Yeah.
me, wasn't it? We didn't mention
It
it to
was,
anyone.
we had a conversation about it, and
Yeah.
I was like, this would be great to follow To One in Paradise. And I started thinking about it today. So I listened to the assignation this morning on my way to work. I found a really good, I went through like 5 different readings from YouTube and found one that was like the voice I really enjoyed listening to. And after I finished it, I had like about 10, 15 minutes more to my drive. And I started thinking about it, and I'm like, should we have read the story first, then read the poem? But the more I thought about it, I'm really glad we read the poem first
Yeah.
Mhm.
because I think I got reread like listening to it because I've like physically read this story before a couple times, and it's been a while. And so listening to it today, I think I enjoyed it more than physically like just holding the book and reading it. But the more I thought, just talking about the conversation we had last month, I think digging into that poem, I got more out of the story this time than I have in the past. Like, it's like I glossed over the poem. I was like, this is a beautiful poem, but it brought me more meaning this time.
Yeah,
Well, I
I
think
felt
that's
I felt so in the know. I felt like I had seen the DVD extras about this because I
uh-huh.
knew that I knew this extra little information. So
Yeah.
I think the way you sequenced it was perfect.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it this way. I think if we had done it the other way, I would have maybe not have enjoyed either one as well.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the House of the Fall. Good Lord, I'm
Dog
having
House of
dyslexia
Usher.
issue. Thank you. Going from weird things, but anyway, and Will, to answer your question, we've been having some connection issues around here because we've got weird weather going, weird
Yeah.
stuff around here. So, but it's like with the haunted palace in the Fall of the House of Usher.
Yes.
I mean, you take it out and you read it separately. Now, we could think of it the same way. What if we read it and then read The Fall of the House of Usher?
Yeah.
Would it have the same kind of impact that this one did? Because To One in Paradise, I think if I had not read that separately before we did this one,
Mhm.
I don't know if I could have actually stayed in the story enough to get to the poem and get it as much as I did.
Yeah.
Because where it was situated, and after now, there's nothing wrong with the description. I mean, Poe's got that all over the place. I love the description, but as when Cheryl was talking about with the setting, a lot of that, it was like he was writing it as a play. So a lot of that was just cues that should be just for actors, not necessarily for the reader.
That's a good.
So that's kind of like what made it for me. It's like, I understand why he was doing it because he was giving us direction to show, we were the dramatic irony of it.
Mhm.
But at the same time, it's like it kind of got bogged down for me to where if I was watching this as a play, this would be awesome because the actors would know exactly everything that they needed to do, where they needed to stand, how they needed to be. But it's like, as you know, my own imagination, just give me enough to build my own picture, and I can make it. Let's go. Okay, that was just weird.
Well,
I don't know
Romeo and
why.
Juliet is a play.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
exactly.
and so there. Oh, hey, Steve, grab me one too, because apparently I need it. Okay.
Well, and you know, and really, with us bringing in Romeo and Juliet as heavily as we have, because I think everybody got that vibe. You know, before I teach Romeo and Juliet, I teach Pyramus and Thisbe, which is, you know, Shakespeare loosely, you know, kind of crafted Romeo and Juliet with a lot of different elements in it, but it's very, you know, close to the same just basic plot line. This is kind of like it was like Pyramus and Thisbe, Romeo and Juliet, and then the Assignation. I mean, when you kind of think about it, not quite so much, but a little bit, you can almost pair this with that.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that we love the most, and that's why we talk about these things the way we do. We talk about all the tie-ins and how they
Absolutely.
cross over, who they go with, the
Mhm.
influences, the lack thereof. I still think it's Poe trying to one up, Shakespeare because he just didn't like him.
That's really
Um,
possible. And what's interesting that you mentioned that this would be probably better as a play. I'm pretty sure in the story he mentions Palladian, which
mhm,
is his one unfinished play, which is based on a true story about
mhm.
a love triangle in Kentucky. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he does mention that. So I think once again, this is his way of making a play without making a play.
yeah.
Or making a play on Shakespeare. Whatever. I got caught up there. Sorry.
Any other things that you guys like noticed, liked, disliked?
Somebody stop me. Okay, sorry.
I mean, I agree with a lot of the folks who are saying this might not be your favorite. I mean, Will, I think you're saying it was like the opposite, but it feels to me like eat your vegetables. Like there's something good about
Yeah.
trying to work your way through something like this.
Mhm.
And I feel like we're our struggle to understand his meaning helps us to better understand Poe.
Mhm.
And as Poe aficionados and scholars, it's a useful device, even if it doesn't give us much satisfaction as some of his other stories.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Because this was written was it in 1938? 1938. 1838. Woo, he time traveled
1834.
right up to 1938.
Yeah.
What?
1834, and that was in the
Oof.
title of it was The Visionary, then.
Yeah.
And then he republished it in 1840. It was republished in 1845 in the Southern Literary Messenger. I can't talk tonight either.
See?
And you wonder, did he change anything? I've not looked at different versions. It'd be interesting to see if he did change anything.
Yeah. And I like Will's comment about how he was reading it and could hear the orchestra, the kind of like the Star Wars operetta playing in the background type of thing when you're reading it. Because it starts out, oh, I guess I've been reading way too much news lately. I'm sorry, I just can't help it myself. But, Susan Smith, South Carolina, went up in front of the parole board. 30 years ago, she killed her two kids by drowning them in a minivan. She strapped
Oh,
them
right.
in and
Yeah.
drove them into the the lake. And then she played off that, they were kidnapped and someone carjacked her. Then it turned out she actually did it so she could run off with another man.
Mhm.
And then she was found guilty of murder. And then so she came up with parole to try to get out of prison. And so while I was reading this, when I read that she tossed the baby into the canal, that's the first thing that popped into my head, because once more, we got modern day of someone trying to get rid of their children so they can go off to be with another lover, not the person they're married to or anything like that. So it struck a chord as being a realistic for me,
Mhm.
to see that there are truly women who do that in real life. So I think Poe was really channeling that for me when I was reading it. So I will give that props, but it was,
But didn't she end up pregnant in jail?
think so.
Yeah. I remember reading something about that. I'm like, really? You've got to be kidding me.
Yeah. I think it was actually the man that she was supposed to have run off with.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, I just looked up, was Poe's The Assignation based on a true story? And Dr. Jeff had mentioned Lord Byron, and
mhm.
it's what I'm seeing is that it's possible that Thomas More did a biography on Lord Byron and talked about Byron's affair with the Countess Guiccioli, and this story could be loosely based on that.
Oh, wow.
So that's kind of an interesting
Interesting.
concept to think about.
Well,
As he did a lot of stories. I mean, like King Pest's character
mhm.
was based on Andrew Jackson. Trying to think. There's another one that I think he based around Nielsen Poe, his cousin. I can't remember which story it is. There's a lot of stories that he kind of took attributes of different people and created his own characters.
Well, yeah. He was, why not? I mean, if it's out there, why not use it? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, you write what you know, and we've always
Mhm.
said Poe writes or wrote what he knew.
Mhm.
But I would, and again, I'm speculating, and I'd be interested to know what other folks think. I
Mhm.
would guess that even if he were basing a story off of something that he understood to be a true story, he was leveraging it to say something more universal about the human condition. In other words, I'm suspecting that his purpose was not to opine on that specific story, but to try and drive at something more universal.
Mhm.
Yeah,
The way that Romeo and Juliet would be about, you know, love gone wrong rather than about these specific, Capulets and
Mhm.
etc.
Yeah. I mean, it's always about the human condition, no matter who's writing it. And it's always about what's going on at that time when it's being written. So it worked well for Shakespeare during that time because he was writing it from the feudal point of view, with the jesters, the kings, the queens, all that wonderful, the warring families. And then, thinking about with Poe, he was, you had the Enlightenment period going on, you had the Great Awakening happening, you had science and you had religion colliding. So it it definitely mixed a lot of things. And then of course Poe loves to delve back into history with his mythology.
Mhm.
So he likes to bring it round, circle it round,
Yeah.
round it up, which is great because I think it's Poe is a full circle for me. Even though he's still dead, it's still happening. He's like the
But
infinite.
I guess I still wonder though how much Poe was writing for a large array of publications trying to get $25 here and $100 there.
Mhm.
How much of what he was doing was just what he thought would sell versus did he have some larger message and theme that he really, as an artist, felt a need to put out there? I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I think, Steve, like for me, like this whole idea of this story about these people loving each other so much it essentially drives them to suicide per se. I think it's a super poetic notion, right? I mean, you guys might think I'm really twisted when I always say like this dark romance, but the idea that you guys love each other so much that you can't exist on the worldly plane is super romantic. Like dark romance. But I mean, to me, it's almost him playing on the idea that we always talk about the death of a beautiful woman. But here's this like beautiful young couple, right? And they're just not meant for this world, so they have to move on or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I think this one more than others has like a very poetic. I mean, a lot of the stories have like poetic vibes. Like you guys said, I think Dr. Jeff is very atmospheric, very, just has like a very poetic kind of entire storyline for me.
Ken and Athena.
Holly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Steve sent a comment toward you.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, just sorry, my computer takes a while. Yes, like that. Okay, Steve. So you read my book, so you know how twisted I am. So yes, like Ken and Athena, I love that. There's a fine line between love and hate and trust and distrust.
Well, and when you
Nothing wrong with that.
And I was going to say, with kind of the earthly plane versus the plane of the
Spiritual.
gods, or ethereal, whatever, and you can kind of think the Marquesa was Marquesa Aphrodite, and so Poe wrote her, and like especially with the painting that the young man had in his home, Poe wrote her as the spirit of a goddess. I mean, basically, because she was beautiful. And so that's a really good point that Holly made, that maybe they are supposed to be on more of a different status.
Well, and it goes back to when Poe actually started describing the young man.
Mm-hmm.
He even made a point of saying he was someone that everybody knew and was
Yes.
kind of in awe of. So that right there told you that he was putting him on that pedestal of the ideal man of the Greek mythology, that mythos. And then that would bring in Byron, because, Lord Byron was revered by many,
Mm-hmm.
whether it was male or female,
Yeah.
so that would come into play, that maybe he himself was above all the commoners.
Very
Well,
true.
and it kind of ties back to Annabelle Lee, right? Like they said, she was like too good for the world essentially, so that her high-born kingsman had to come and take her away, because she was just too good for this world. So
Yeah,
a little tie back to Annabelle Lee too.
absolutely.
So it had its Poe. He was all over it. I mean, the story itself, once you got in it, so it's like, because you could dig it out of the weeds kind of thing in some areas. This is just my opinion. This is just me. I'm not like anybody else, so don't take me to task, people.
Yeah,
I'm
you
just
are
saying.
different. You're unique.
I'm a rare bird in the world of the flock, but it is just like we always said, with Poe's works, it affects everyone differently, no matter your age, how you read it, whatever. Someone could love some words with a mummy, and then some people can't. Some people can love the Assignation, and some people can't. But that doesn't mean they can't enjoy the Poeness of it all,
Yeah.
because you just have to.
This is definitely not one of my absolute favorites, but I do like it. But I'm a word person, and so the description of the setting and everything like that. That does a lot for me.
Mhm. Like I said, it would have been fine for me if it was a live action. I could have got more. And just not that I'm saying that his descriptions weren't wonderful, because he is a, master wordsmith of
Yeah.
description and all that. But I guess it goes back to my younger days. I'm tired of getting, when I was younger, I did not like being told everything.
Yeah.
Told what to do, when to do it, how, this is kind of like the same thing. It's like I'm reading because I'm trying to enjoy it, not being told how to enjoy it or what I'm enjoying or what about it's supposed to be enjoyable. That's kind of what I'm saying. But anyway, next, I'm done.
Yeah. Will said I still don't like that. And let's see, Cheryl just shared 12 true stories behind E.A. Poe's Terror Tales. Oh, awesome.
Found it.
Thank
Just
you for
found it.
that.
Yeah.
Yep,
I'm
yep.
gonna-
I didn't see the assignation in here. I was flipping through it.
okay. Yeah, I just clicked on
But
it so I could look at that later.
yeah, number 13. Could add it in.
Yes. And that would be
This
even more
looks really
apropos.
fascinating. This article looks really fascinating.
Oh, cool.
Bless you.
Yeah.
Whoever's sneezing.
It even talks about some words with a mummy. You just mentioned that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a terror
And,
tale.
and premature burial.
Yes.
Now that one I'll
Well,
agree with.
There's
yeah,
there's a story
the way
behind
Poe
that.
the way Poe begins the premature burial, he starts with a news report about people who really were buried
Yes.
alive.
Yes.
And many of the writers back then went off on tangents, like Hawthorne's Scarlet Letter begins with the Custom House essay,
Yeah.
and Dickens, Thackeray, Hugo
Yeah.
would go off on tangents in the middle of a novel and start just writing an essay about a topic. So I think we've read 2 or 3 of Poe's stories, which start out having nothing to do with what's going to happen, but just informing us of things.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. He was
Chopin died the same year as Poe, 1849.
okay.
And Chopin requested that his heart be removed from his body before he was buried.
I did not know that. Interesting.
Because he was afraid of premature burial.
Okay.
And that was very common back in the first half of the 18th century. Maybe even
Cheryl, how do you pick up a little factoid like that?
Chopin's my favorite composer.
Okay.
And I read it years ago. I read something about it years ago, and I never forgot it. That was not uncommon back then as a request before you were buried, to make sure you were really dead before they put you under the earth, or in a tomb. You don't want to wake up and find yourself alive.
Yeah. I was gonna say that would make a really good part of a story with someone asking to have their heart removed.
I believe Robert Louis Stevenson had his heart removed and was buried somewhere on an island, that he liked.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But Cheryl, have you seen the 1940s movie A Song to Remember?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen the 1970s miniseries Notorious Woman?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Let's see. Will says my poetry group was just discussing that about Robert Louis Stevenson by funny coincidence. Yes. Oh, wow.
We're everywhere.
Yes.
We're just everywhere.
Yes.
We got telepathic.
6 degrees to Poe, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You guys talked about in Steve's interview.
Yes. Yes.
About getting Kevin Bacon on your podcast.
Yes. I always say if Kevin Bacon is listening, we want you to come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
He might have a great post story to tell himself. Who knows?
Oh, I know
Kevin
it.
Bacon's supposed to be in a new series on TV or something about a demon hunter or something, or he died and he's come back. I saw that.
There you
It looks
go.
kind of comical.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw just like a clip of the TV may have been turned down and saw a clip of something that he was going to be in, but I didn't dig into it.
It's on Prime. It's on Prime. It's going to be a Prime series.
Yeah, and I meant that as a pun of dig in, as in
I know.
very sorry.
I got it.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you had to go there.
I did. I did. So anything else about the assignation? Or is it ready to be buried?
But not prematurely.
Yes, exactly.
Please take his heart out.
It needs to burn, so we
Burn
can
the
watch
heart.
it burn.
No, or
We
just
can play.
let-
We can play
or
the liar. while
throw it in the
burns.
canal. Throw it in the canal.
Well, I do want to say one last thing. Why did he choose that title? Because I mean, that is a perfect
But there
title.
was a different title originally, right? He changed the
Yeah, the
title.
Visionary
Mhm.
was the original title. So it's like he goes from a vision to the other direction. So it's like we're sticking with bodily parts, eyes, just
Well,
saying.
Well, and
this title was
assignation.
far more sensational. I think
Yes.
Steve was
Yeah.
talking about, did he write to sell the things?
Mhm.
And that this title, would be
Mm.
shocking and scandalous to
Yes.
people, so they
Mhm.
would want to read the assignation.
Right.
I agree.
Well, and assignation really drives home the point this was prearranged
Yeah,
Mhm.
it
Yes.
does.
to our earlier conversation.
Mhm.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, yeah, Dr. Jeff, you're right. The shock value would have been the big sell. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts?
Mhm.
This isn't related to the story, but just as long as we're all here, is everybody here part of the Saturday reading?
Let's see.
I've got to get mine in.
Except for Layla, I think.
Leela, and then I think,
Layla.
well, you didn't sign up to do, I don't think Will did.
Yeah,
Not me
you
this
did.
time. Yeah.
So
And
did
what
we
time
all
is yours?
decide those who are narrating are going to be dressed up? Is that the expectation?
If you want to, like
For Holly,
don't
it is.
yeah, we
I'm gonna
don't
wear my.
require it. I will do some kind of something. Yes.
I'm wearing the Christmas T-shirt they sent.
Okay.
There you go.
Do you know what
I
it
made
is?
sure it was clean.
Right.
I collect vintage hats, so anytime that's why I'm gonna shake it up maybe and try, because I always wear the black one for Poe events and Gothic events, so I might shake it up.
No,
Holly, what time is your event? What time is your
I'm
presentation?
going on at 12, so I'm the first one because I
Well,
sent Carmen a message.
yes.
12
Central
Eastern.
Time?
Yeah,
It's-
12 Eastern. So
Yeah.
11
Eastern.
o'clock
11
Central.
Central.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cheryl, that's 9 o'clock for you and me.
that's early.
Um,
And I'm starting at 11:10.
Yes.
Okay, you're after it.
Yeah, Central Time.
mine's 10 o'clock San Diego time, so that's 1 o'clock Eastern, right? And Steve,
Mhm.
yours is 9:40.
Yeah,
Is it
I'm
9:40?
the warm-up act for you.
You're right before me.
I'm the
And
warm-up
Holly's-
act, yeah.
Yeah, Holly's then before us. Yeah, Holly's at noon. Okay.
Yeah, when
I'm
you
gonna-
get your reminder email, it's going to be set for Central Time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the reminder email will give you the
Right.
Central Time on there. So you just have to.
Yeah.
But
Calculate.
I
And
plan-
Jeanie and Carmen, is this going to be archived on your website in some way?
Yes. Yes. So it will. So by going through Zoom, what will happen is I will have the whole recording of what is it, 5 hours, I think.
Mm-hmm.
5 hours. And
Oh,
so,
Yeah,
4
something
hours.
like that.
4 hours.
4
Yeah.
hours.
4 hours.
yeah, 4 hours. And so then what we'll do that following week, so we'll have, like, you'll be able to see the live on the YouTube channel. It just resides there. But then the actual video file that saves through Zoom, I will cut that up into everyone's segment and then like over a period of about a week or so, I'll put 1 or 2 out a day just to like, promote you guys. And so,
Oh, nice. Thank you.
yeah.
But I mean, it's okay that I'm sending a video recording, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. No,
Okay, because I heard you say live, and I'm like, oh, okay, wait, hold on for a minute.
yeah, no, Keith. No, your video is perfect. So yeah.
Okay, because I just
we will be live, but your
Yeah.
videos, the ones that have recorded, we will just share them and play them during the segment that you signed up for.
Okay.
Yeah. And then like Mike is going to be live with us as well. So yeah.
And
Right?
for clarification, that email you sent, Carmen and Jeanie,
Mhm.
it said the second annual Poet Like Poe.
Yes, a
But then
reading
it said the
event.
third annual poetry
Yes.
contest.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, wanted to
So
make sure that was
The
straight.
first year we did the poetry contest, we did not have a live reading event.
Right.
Okay, that's what I
And
thought.
then last year we were like, we need something to kick off the event. So we were like, this would be a fun thing to do
Okay.
and invite people to come on. And, if you can't be there physically, send a video. If you can't read with us live, that'll be great too. Either way, we were totally fine with. And then we can also promote you guys and just with what you do. And it's great. So
I already have it up on my event page, and
thank you.
I'm wondering if you have is there a link yet for people? I know it doesn't start till April 1st, but is there a link yet for how people or where people go to enter the poetry contest?
It will be on the website.
Yeah,
where
it'll
you
be on
found.
our website. It's here. Let me just drop it in the chat for you.
Okay, because
On
my
one.
newsletter goes out March 31st, the day before, and it'd
Okay,
be nice
yeah,
to have
and
that for.
we encourage adults and youth. Youth is, I think I've got it 11 to 17, and then adult 18 and up. And so, yeah, we would. And last year we had a really nice range of youth. The first year we only had a few, and so that okay, here's the link. And so there will be a live link on April 1st for people to submit. So
Okay. Right. Oh, it just where did it go?
So
just click on the chat thing, it'll pop back up.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
And I'm gonna share something with you guys too, because I'm gonna cut all this stuff out so we don't, this won't be in the
in the production.
Yes. Hold on, let me take off my screen.
It can be behind the scenes.
It's true. Some of y'all, I guess most of y'all know, maybe not everybody. It depends on if you read our newsletter. And I've posted on my site. I can't remember if I posted on 6 Degrees, but I got the copy of my book in. And so this is the hardcover. I was telling Holly that I'm like wanting to sleep with it because I'm so excited. But it turned out beautiful. And Jeanie did the cover. And if you can, I don't think you can see this very well, but there's a single rose down the spine.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
what's the title of it again?
The Rose Bush. And so it's on pre-order on Amazon. It comes in ebook, hardback, paperback. It'll actually be released on May 16th, which is Poe and Virginia's anniversary. And
can you hold it up again,
Carmen?
Carmen?
Yeah. And as a little clue, that date, hold on. That date actually, hold on. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah. That date means something for one of the characters. So
May 16th?
May 16th is when it comes out. So
how fun. Congratulations.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Carmen.
Thank you. And
I missed something. They stepped away. What is that?
Oh, Leila. So I wrote a book.
Oh.
And it's called The Rose Bush, and it is very Poe-esque. It's based on Annabelle Lee.
Oh.
And,
okay. Oh, good. That sounds great.
Thank you.
So is that a contribution for Saturday Visitor?
Well, it won't be for this year. Only
thank God.
I did. Okay. I wrote it. Yeah, I didn't write it before, like I finished it, in
It'll be for next year's Saturday Visitor.
probably, yes.
It's so good. So sorry guys, I already read it and it's so awesome. You guys are all gonna love it. So yeah, it's so good. I'm so excited for that.
And I've already got the idea for the next one. I never I've been writing since I was 5 years old, and I'm not joking, like little cutesy cartoony stories. And this is a dream that I've had my entire life. And
How fun.
I never in my life thought that the first novel I would publish would be romance, but it's gothic romance.
Okay.
Because murder mystery has kind of always been my thing. And this is just what came out to be, the first one. And so, Holly walked me through all the self-publishing, and whew, it's
a lot.
But it's
Yeah.
not a series, is it? I mean, it's not going to be like the characters continue into the next story. It's just a standalone story.
No, so the next one, it will be a series where it's going to be called the Gothic Garden series.
Okay.
All of the books are going to be based on a flower, and
Okay.
just because I'm going to give y'all a little clue, so the next one is going to be called the Asphodels, a death flower.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, and guys, this book is all Poe. So I mean
It
it is
is,
super,
yeah.
it's all, I mean, you guys will love all the Poe stuff in there, especially this group, because you're gonna pick out all the not so obvious
Eggs.
Poe pieces. Yeah, it's really cool.
Carmen, I would love to feature your book in my newsletter in May.
Oh, thank you. That would be lovely.
And so my newsletter will go out May 31st, so your book will have just been published.
Okay. Thank you so much, Cheryl.
Sure.
And I will say this, it's, with it being a romance, it's, what did my friend Tracy, what did she call it? She didn't say wholesome. It's a very clean book. Like a teenager could pick this up, and or an adult.
I couldn't pick up stuff that teenagers read, so that doesn't mean anything.
No, I mean, adults, children, not to say children, like mid-teens and up will enjoy it, I think, and especially if you love Poe. But it's a clean book.
It's more of a love story, not an erotica.
No, yeah, I'm not
It's
going down
a
that
gothic
route.
love story. Let's just put it that way, because it's not, it's not like the type of the erotica that most people say are romance now. That's not what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not romance.
It's very atmospheric too. It has has like the creepy, like, I don't want to give anything away, but it has that very like underlining, like kind of like, I don't want to say sense of dread, but it has that kind of like that supernatural vibe, at least that I personally like when I'm reading a book, even if it's not a supernatural per se book. I love when it has that, I don't know, that just that, I guess it's like that, just that has that vibe with that underlining sense of suspense, and so it's really cool.
Well, I'm glad it's gothic. I've been digging around here in my small little apartment that I've got crammed with books all over the place. I found 2 boxes of gothic stories.
Oh, cool.
The ones that were published back like when my grandmother was still alive, like in the 50s and I think the late 60s, early 70s, with those, the artwork on the front with the dark house in the back and the damsel in distress on the front.
Okay.
I was like, oh, good read.
Very cool. Dr. Jeff, you put a website, ideasintobooks.net. I was going to ask you, tell us about that.
My first book was published by McFarland, but I published the second and third with ideasintobooks.net, also known as Westview Publishing, based in Kingston Springs. And the woman who runs it, Mary Catherine Nelson, takes a real interest in the book. She's hanging on every page as she is assembling the book and laying it out and adding the pictures, and was very, very helpful and expert in what she did with my 2 books. So
nice.
Anyone who wants to self-publish a book might want to look at that and see if you wanted to work with Mary Catherine Nelson.
Yeah, thank you for that. I just copied it over into a tab because I want to check that out. Thank you. That is very helpful. Very, very helpful.
What are we reading on April 29th?
Yes, so we are reading, so it's April 29th, In the Shadow of the Master. This is the essay from King about the Telltale Heart.